is Maestro on behalf of Boxing King Media. I'm here with none other than Doug Fischer, editor-in-chief of the Ring Magazine. You know, I've been following your works, as we were saying off camera, since the Doghouse Boxing, Max Boxing days. I remember you had a show on a YouTube channel too. I forgot the name of that one, but I've been following your work for a long time.
Yeah, Max. That's the 2000s,
right?
Max Boxing, Doghouse Boxing is 2000s, and good times.
There you go.
Very busy times.
Yeah.
More, less of an editor, more of a beat writer, columnist, what have you.
Yeah.
And coming to Vegas for not just big fights, but for all fights.
Right.
Sometimes Steve Kim and I would drive to Vegas 4 times in 1 month.
Yeah.
Which is just like every weekend that month we were driving up to Vegas.
For the big fight.
We were younger, it was early 30s, early mid 30s.
Yeah.
Just you have that energy, that stamina, but also you've just got that you got that passion for it. You know what I mean? It's not just the fights. You want to be around the other boxing people and take in that environment. And Vegas was still fun. It's like, man, we're in Vegas. You meet up with fans, and they already got a drink for you or whatever. And literally, we're talking boxing on the drive up, 4-hour drive. Mm-hmm. Talking boxing with the fans that we meet at the lounges or whatnot, or the sports book, And then we're writing about it, that night, where we go to the press conferences, the weigh-ins, or what have you, little ballroom press conferences like this one.
Yeah.
Get some free food, drink a little coffee, shake off your hangover, and you're just talking more boxing. So and it's great, It's like everybody, even if you I feel like I know you from all those times you called in to Steve Kim's podcast with Gabe, Gabe Montoya.
Yep.
So I know your voice. I know your voice better than I know your face, even though we've met before.
Yeah, we met a couple times.
We've only
in
met
New
a
York.
couple times.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, but that's how it is in boxing.
Yeah.
Even people. That's how it was when I first started. It was like I would meet these members of the media. I just knew their names, just from their bylines. But I felt like I kind of knew them, especially if they were columnists, because they were sharing their opinions, once or twice a week, and I would read all of those stories. So I knew about their opinions, and then I could talk to them about their opinions, and then I would learn more about them, and then you become friends. And so it's this community,
There you go. So let's pick it up there. It's been a while since I've seen you out at a fight.
Yeah.
But you're here for this fight.
Yeah, I feel like I needed the pandemic. Like it was a break from traveling. Traveling was starting to kind of get to me. I like it. Like I would dread traveling to the East Coast, you know what I mean, with the time zones and all that. And I'm one of these people, when I travel, it's hard for me, because I'm not very organized, but it's hard for me to get back into my routine. And so then those trips that I would make, where it was a real busy time with the magazine cycle, like crunch time as we call it, when I had to travel those weekends, it was real difficult. It just added stress to the trip. But also once I got back, I was like, okay, where are we? And everybody's like, we're behind schedule. That's what we are. Like, oh shoot, okay, So when the pandemic hit, the last fight that I went to was the rematch between Deontay Wilder and Tyson Fury. Huge event, just really electric atmosphere, truly like a mega fight. Very good co-promotion between Top Rank and the PBC and the platforms. They really, Fox and ESPN, that combined muscle, I think it really pushed that heavyweight championship out beyond the casual fans. Just people who are not even really into sports were talking about that fight by fight week. So that was really special. But man, I was drained and I was also sick that week.
Yeah.
And in retrospect, I was like, did I have COVID? I don't know. But I was, I had lost my voice and sick, and I was like, when the pandemic hit and boxing dropped off the schedule and there was nobody traveling, I was like, good, man, I need a rest, So I kind of got used to it after 2020 and 2021. I was still kind of like last year even, I was just kind of slowly getting back into it, the traveling.
But you're here for this fight.
I'm here for this one
because
it's real.
Why this fight?
because this fight moves the needle.
Yeah.
This fight, they aren't the two best lightweights, right? The two best lightweights are actually fighting May 20th on my birthday, actually, here in Vegas. And that's the undisputed champ, Devin Haney, and former champion, Vasily Lomachenko. But Tank and Ryan are, according to Ring Magazine, the number 2 and number 3 rated lightweights. So they're highly rated lightweights, but by far, they're the most popular lightweights. And on average, they're the most entertaining lightweights. Like they have dedicated fan bases, and more often than not, they deliver for their fans, especially Tank. Like Tank's fans come out for him, and he gives them what they want. With the exception of that fight against USYK Cruz in Los Angeles, Tank generally lowers the boom. His fans go crazy. He climbs up on a ring apron. He does a backflip in the ring, and they're satisfied. You know what I mean? And Ryan Garcia has his dedicated fan base, mostly via through his social media platforms, but he keeps them engaged. And just when you start to think this dude's more of an influencer or a content creator than a fighter, he gets in the ring and it reminds you that he's a very good fighter. Like he's a legitimate contender with the potential of being an elite boxer. He has the physical tools, he has the natural talent, and he's now partnered with a veteran, soon-to-be Hall of Fame trainer in Joe Goosen. And I'm curious what kind of wrinkles Goosen is adding to his game and what kind of technique that he's adding to that raw, twitchy reflexes, speed, and power. And he's potentially very dangerous. And when I look at him, I don't see a lightweight. I see a junior welterweight. And honestly, I see a guy who could fight comfortably at 147 pounds. I really do. And I think we will see that. Win, lose, or draw tonight. I think he will eventually, just like Oscar De La Hoya, settle into the welterweight division. And I think he has the potential to be a champion in that weight class.
So let me ask you this. I've spoken to a lot of people out here. We're obviously here for a press conference that kind of didn't take place between Adrian Broner and Bill Hutchinson.
Where are you, Adrian?
Right, but while waiting for Adrian to turn up, I've been asking people, and I'd say polling the room that the majority of people are picking Tank by knockout.
Yeah, sure.
So
that's the common wisdom.
Right? Now, Tank's track record at 135 has not been as good as, in my opinion, as it's been in other weight classes, specifically 130.
I know.
I agree. Went almost a full 12 with Yuriorkis Gamboa, who was...
That was lightweight.
Right, lightweight.
And Gamboa totally shot, and he had a messed up Achilles.
And it was about 40 years old, and trust me, I know what it feels like to be 40 now.
Yeah. Wait till you get to your 50s.
Right? So we also had a fight between Tank and USYK Cruz, which you just mentioned. That went to 12 rounds.
Yeah, that actually surprised me.
Right?
That surprised me. But we should just give USYK Cruz credit.
Right.
But when you think about it, USYK Cruz is the only legitimate lightweight contender that Tank has defeated.
I would say so, because Rolly had, 14 fights going into the Tank fight?
He was a up-and-comer, a potentially dangerous, physically speaking, opponent for Tank, but he wasn't rated by Ring Magazine in the lightweight top 10. I don't think he was rated in ESPN.com's top 10 or the Transnational Boxing Rankings top 10.
Right.
I could be wrong, but I don't think I think we looked at him more as a prospect than a contender. So,
who had also been coming
folks,
off.
For folks who say, Ring Magazine is owned by Oscar De La Hoya, so there's a Golden Boy bias. Tank Davis is rated ahead of Ryan Garcia, who's a Golden Boy fighter. And really, they're Golden Goose, too. And you could argue that Ryan has a victory over a higher level lightweight in Luke Campbell than Tank does in USYK Cruz. I'm just tossing that out there. It's debatable.
Well, we also
I won't argue with it either.
We also had the Jackson Marinez fight going into between Rolly and Jackson Marinez. That was controversial.
Jackson won that fight,
right? So he was coming off of that kind of going into the Tank fight. And
so in some ways he was more of a suspect than a prospect. I'm talking about Rolly,
right. And then
still dangerous, and still. Surprising, but also not too surprising. Yeah. Rolly had some success early in that fight. Through 3 or 4 rounds, Rolly was doing more than Tank. Now Tank was doing something. He was kind of figuring out, because Rolly's awkward, kind of figuring out his rhythm and his style, and you know, coming up with ways to set up that trap to land that big left hand, which we got in the 5th round.
Yeah. And then of course we have the Hector Garcia, 130-pound champion who had beaten a Chris Colbert.
Right.
So my question.
That's a good win. That's a good win, by the way. But again, Hector Garcia not rated at 135, rated at 130. He's a highly rated junior lightweight, not lightweight.
So I mean, I've laid the foundation essentially for my follow-up question here, which is, why such confidence in the Tank KO of Ryan Garcia? What is it about Ryan Garcia that has people so confident that he's going to get knocked out?
I can only speak from my. I mean, we know how boxing is. Boxing is very tribal in many ways.
Yeah.
It's tribal in terms of your ethnicity. It's tribal in terms of the region of the country or the world you're from. And a lot of people pick based on, is he in my tribe or not?
Yeah.
So that's a reason for a lot. That's not my reason.
Yeah.
My reason for favoring Tank is I think Tank is a finished product. I think Ryan Garcia is a work in progress. I think Tank is young, but he's mature. He's at his peak. He's 28. That's your peak as an athlete. And not always, but most often, that's also your peak. The peak of your prime years for a boxer. So
yeah.
I'm feeling that Tank is on top of his game right now, whereas Ryan Garcia is on his way there. Tank has more championship experience, or more 12-round experience. You just laid out, Tank hasn't defeated a lot of legitimate lightweight contenders, but he's defeated veteran fighters over 3 weight classes. You know, solid fighters from 130 pounds up to 140 pounds. And he carries all that experience into the ring with him tonight. So I'm just going with the more experienced, slightly more proven fighters. Not that much more proven than Ryan Garcia, especially at lightweight. But he is more mature. And I do think, technically speaking, he is what he is. I don't think he's going to change his style. I don't think he's going to get that much better than he is now. And I think Ryan, he's on the fast track. He's on his way. And I don't know if he's quite ready. It wouldn't shock me if he is ready, if he lives up to this moment. That's very possible.
Speaking from a Ring Magazine perspective, is this fight kind of like a final eliminator for the Ring Magazine Championship?
I hope so.
Which coincides with the undisputed championship of the world.
Yeah, I hope so. I'm not confident with that unless Vasily Lomachenko pulls the upset on May 20. If Vasily Lomachenko pulls the upset on May 20, he's undisputed champion and Ring Magazine champion at lightweight. He's too small to go up in weight, okay? He's talking about going down in weight, right?
Yeah.
He's like, I'll go to featherweight and fight in a weight if he wants to come up. Yeah, go for it, whatever. He's barely a lightweight, really. I mean, he was really pushing his body to fight at 135 pounds. So he will stay put. If Haney wins, and Haney is the favorite, and I think he deserves to be the favorite, he's just got the momentum. He's the younger, bigger man. Lomachenko in his last fight had the look of an aging fighter. I hate to say it. It happens. We all get old. And even though he doesn't have a lot of pro fights, he had a shit ton of amateur fights.
Against Jermaine Ortiz, I was at that fight.
Listen, Ortiz is a good fighter. It could just be that Ortiz is better than we even think he is. That could be the case. And maybe Ortiz gives everyone hell at lightweight. You know what I mean? But it looks like Loma's ready to go. So if Haney is that guy to push him off the cliff, I don't know if Haney sticks around at lightweight. If Ryan wins tonight, I don't think he wants to get anywhere near 135 pounds. He doesn't even want to think of 136.
Yeah.
You know, I think he wants to go to 140.
Yeah.
So if Lomachenko wins and Tank wins, that would be a dream scenario. That would be a tremendous fight, and you would hope that Top Rank and the PBC can work something out between those two platforms, Showtime and ESPN, and put something together, because that's a brilliant matchup. Maybe if Ryan wins tonight and Lomachenko wins on May 20, maybe Ryan will say, okay, one more fight at lightweight, just because everyone tells me how important belts are. I don't think they're important. You know, it's about me. It's about my connection with the fans, and maybe he's right about that. But if the opportunity is there for Ryan to win 4 sanctioning body belts and the Ring Magazine Championship, and he's in with another short guy, he likes fighting little guys, short guys, and this guy's not just short, he is kind of light in the ass, you know, so to speak. Not a puncher. Yeah. He might be like, yeah, let's do it. So, but that's a lot of ifs. So, unfortunately, no, I don't think that like the winner of tonight's fight will necessarily fight the winner of the May 20th showdown. Not immediately. I think eventually these guys will fight, especially the younger guys, Haney and Garcia, but at 140 pounds. And let's face it, they are natural junior welterweights / welterweights. Both guys.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't like what they do to their bodies to make 135. I don't like it. It's too much.
Last thing about this fight, should Tank win?
Yeah.
Is there an asterisk beside the W with the catch weight, with the rehydration clause?
With some people.
Yeah.
I think some people will give him a pass, and that's fine if you give everybody that pass. Now, if you were one of these people who were very loud and outraged even when Canelo Alvarez had a rehydration clause, and now he didn't even have like a catch weight with Sergey Kovalev, but he had the rehydration clause the day of weigh-in when he fought for his first light heavyweight title, and there were people had said that this victory does not count, and they were loud about that before the fight, and they were loud about that after the fight. Some of those people, and some of them are members of the media, and some of them are former fighters even, I've seen them kind of question the catch weight and the rehydration clause in this fight, but I haven't heard them condemn Gervonta Davis or his team. I've actually heard them pat them on the back saying, hey, if your team negotiated a good deal that helps you out, good for you. That's the business of boxing. Suddenly it's about the business of boxing. And it's not all of them. This is just some folks. I've heard some of the same folks that were condemning Canelo saying this is what's wrong with boxing. Yeah. Both as a business and a sport, and it shouldn't be allowed to happen. Yeah. Some of those folks are giving Tank a pass. So the answer to that question is there'll be an asterisk from some people. There won't be an asterisk from others. There'll be an asterisk from any diehard Ryan Garcia fan, obviously. Yeah. And there will be an asterisk by like the real purists who don't believe in catch weights and certainly don't believe in second day weigh-ins or an A-side fighter doing anything to give him an advantage. You know what I mean? Give him an advantage outside of what he naturally brings into the ring. You know, like choosing the gloves or the size of the ring or all that kind of stuff. You know, I'm a Sugar Ray Leonard's my boyhood idol. Yeah. And I had to hear it for years.
Donnie Lalonde.
The Donnie Lalonde fight, but even for the Marvin Hagler fight, people were saying they were mad at him. You know, saying like he negotiated a big ring and he ran like a thief in the night, which is not true. He had to land some punches, okay? But whatever, like they'll never accept that victory. Yeah. You know, A, they'll just say Hagler won, but B, after they say Hagler should have won that fight, they'll say Ray asked for a bigger ring, or they'll even say, and I don't think this is mythology, they'll say Ray negotiated the fight to be 12 rounds instead of 15 rounds, and Hagler would have got him in a 15-round fight. So, whatever, there's an asterisk in there, and it is part of boxing. Mm-hmm. But I'm a Sugar Ray Leonard guy, and I no asterisk there. That's a great victory, man. I'm sorry, you know. He had been off for like 3 years. Come on, people, you know, whatever.
So, lastly, I'd like to pivot to the heavyweight division. Tyson Fury held the Ring Magazine Championship, vacated it. Says his plan is to capture it again.
Sure. He might do it.
But your thoughts first on Anthony Joshua. He's paired up with a new trainer, Derek James. He had that win against Jermaine Franklin.
Yeah.
Is he ready again for the top tier of the heavyweight division?
Yeah. but he's not going to be at his best. I don't think he can get to his best unless he can have more activity. But he's such a big star. He makes so much money. You know, he'll talk about, you know, fighting more than once or twice a year, and then he won't do it. After every loss or every poor performance, I always hear from Eddie Hearn or somebody affiliated with Joshua, or just people who are Joshua believers, and they'll say, you know what, you know, he's gonna fight 3 times or 4 times and get that activity back, and you know, because that activity allows a fighter to apply what he's learning in the gym.
Yeah.
You know, and it's easier to do that over the course of 2 or 3 fights against like a second-tier fighter than to be thrown in there with a peer, a fellow elite heavyweight that who may have been more active than you, or just may have more confidence. You know, because they just know who they are. You know, like if Joshua were to fight Deontay Wilder next weekend, I would pick Deontay Wilder. Not because I think Deontay Wilder is a better boxer or a better fighter per se. It's just Wilder knows who he is. He knows he's a puncher. He's just looking to land that right hand. And he believes in it, and he's willing to stick his nose in there and get beat up while waiting to land that big punch. And unless your name is Tyson Fury, he does land that big punch, right? And Joshua's a guy who goes in there, and there's always this identity crisis with him in terms of his style, in terms of his temperament. And it's weird, you know, you'll see flashes of like a brute. You know, we saw like in the late rounds against Usyk when he kind of pressed him and got to the body. It's like, do that.
Yeah.
Be that guy. That's how you were as a prospect.
Yeah.
But as a prospect, he's fighting lesser fighters, but he was also fighting often. You know what I mean? So he just had that momentum. He had that mojo. You know, he was thinking less because he was acting more.
Yeah.
You know, and now he's got all this time to think, and he's a thinker.
Yeah.
And he's an overthinker. And there's an old saying: overanalysis leads to paralysis. Sometimes he looks paralyzed in there. You know, like, boxer, what am I doing?
Yeah.
Am I counterpuncher? What distance? And it's just like, pick one, man. You know?
Yeah.
And let them hands go, because he's got hands.
He
Dude's got
definitely
hands.
does.
I don't think it's easy for anybody. I think, but I wouldn't count even Zhang. I wouldn't even count Ergovich or Parker out against Joshua, even though he has way more experience, especially championship experience than they do, just because they know who they are. So it's about that ring identity. But he's still top 3 or 4 heavyweight. He's still in that mix. He still makes for great fights.
Well, let's talk about that.
Yeah.
I mean, that tournament is being rumored for Saudi Arabia.
Do you think it's real?
I know
the money's real.
I spoke to a member of Team Wilder yesterday who told me that from their side it's real. But in my opinion, and I'd like your opinion on this, should those 4 guys be entered into some kind of a box-off?
That's what I would like, yeah.
My preference would be Fury versus Joshua on one side of the bracket, and Usyk and Wilder on the other side of the bracket. And I'll tell you why. I, like you, believe that should Wilder face Joshua, that's a victory likely for Wilder for the same reasons that you did, and that right hand on the one side and the identity issues on the other.
Yeah.
Whereas I think Usyk, because of what we saw against Luis Ortiz, another southpaw, because of what we saw against Arthur Szpilka, was boxing quite well against Wilder as long as it lasted. I find that an intriguing matchup.
Oh, it is.
I'd like to see, can Usyk stretch him for the full 12 rounds? Right?
Yeah, because Wilder's live the entire 12 rounds, and Usyk doesn't have that huge size to tie up Wilder and weigh on him and weaken those legs and all. Usyk has to operate from a really middle distance.
Yeah.
You know, he's got to be in, out, and around.
Yeah.
And he can do it.
Yeah.
He's got them legs. He's a tremendous athlete. More importantly, he's got that heart. Like, he's not going to be afraid of the power. Now, he'll be leery of it.
Yeah.
We've seen him in against big punchers, and people dial in.
Yeah.
He did against Garcia. Because a lot of folks thought that Garcia was live against him in the finals of the World Boxing Super Series Cruiserweight tournament. And he stepped it up. He was a little bit like when he fought the guy from Latvia. What's that guy's name? Bradis, yeah. That was a close fight.
Yeah, it was.
Bradis kind of got to him.
And he was on the road in both of those fights.
He was always on the road.
Yeah.
That's what but he's got that kind of character where he'll do it. He'll fight the star in that guy's hometown, or home country. And I really respect that. So he would, I feel like Usyk would take some chances because I think he knows that he would have to chip away at Wilder. He'd have to wear him down. You can't just neatly outbox him.
Definitely.
You got to put something on Wilder.
Yeah.
You gotta dissuade him a little bit. You got to discourage him. It's not easy to do, but I do think Usyk has a lot of grit. Having said that, I don't know if Usyk can take one of them right hands flush.
Well, I don't think anybody can.
Yeah.
And the other thing I like about the Usyk matchup is that I can picture him forcing Wilder to constantly have to reset, right? And then on the other side, you have AJ versus Joshua, which is of course a big fight in the UK. And
AJ versus Fury.
Fury, in the UK, and one where I think
that would maybe be the biggest fight ever.
Yeah, exactly. And I think Joshua might experience more success there than against Wilder in terms of, if he does get hit, and being able to come back from that and keep the fight interesting.
Yeah.
So,
also something about Fury, I think, would ignite Joshua in a positive way. Fury's good at touching buttons. And that was part of his success against Wilder, is that he could get Wilder really riled up. Wilder would waste a lot of energy, like before the fight and the day of the fight.
We also remember the headphones. He tried to block it out.
But that also lets you know, like, by you saying, I'm not going to let you into my head, he's in your head.
Yeah.
And the funny thing about Fury, he kind of reminds me of Bernard Hopkins, who was a master at psychological warfare. Is he'll throw little things out and see what sticks. Like, he'll feed the media little things because he knows if Wilder isn't overhearing it in the same room, he knows members of the media will run and go ask Wilder about it. And if he can get Wilder to talk about whatever he fed the media, he knows he's in there. So I think it was before the second fight, he said, I masturbate 7 times a day. He said that. Everybody ran with it because we're stupid, we're corny. But he got me. I know that's a victory for Tyson Fury when Wilder is answering questions about jacking off 7 times a day. Then he fed a British reporter, I think it was Gareth Davies.
Yeah.
Gareth wrote it up in a column for The Ring, where he said he was soaking his hands in gasoline or something like that to make his skin
with
tougher.
the Kronk Gym,
Yeah, and that didn't really get out there. But then I heard in an interview, that Wilder was doing something with somebody, a video interview. He brought it up. This man is soaking his hands in gasoline. It's like, dude, he is in your fucking head. So that's in your head in a negative way.
Yeah.
I don't think Fury can get to Joshua that way, but I do think he can piss off Joshua in a way where Joshua has a lot of pride.
Yeah.
Where Joshua might be willing to carry that pride in the ring and let them hands go, because he's fast, he's got quick hands, he's got beautiful combinations, and it's just about having the confidence to get behind him, to let him go in the right sequence at the right time, and not overthink too much, not worry too much about what the other guy's doing.
There you go. Lastly, Doug, you brought up the issue of Bernard with the mind games. Famously, there was the tossing of the Puerto Rican flag in San Juan. That one immediately comes to mind. I'm sure you saw what happened on stage yesterday at the weigh-in, where he kind of put his hand on Gervonta's back.
That was so weird.
Was that purposeful?
Yes, of course.
And that was part of the mind game.
Hold on. Everything Bernard does, there's a purpose to it.
Yeah.
He doesn't say anything or do anything without some sort of purpose or agenda. a plan. There's always a grand plan or scheme with Bernard.
Yeah.
And Bernard, I've seen Bernard do it. I mean, Bernard's a street guy. Bernard did 5 or 6 years in a state prison, a state penitentiary. So he's got that mental game, but I've seen him apply that to, Ivy League grads. You know what I mean? I've seen him apply that in the corporate rooms, I've seen him own people, you know what I mean, who are very successful in business or academics even, or whatever, what have you, or as journalists or whatever. So everything he does, there's a reason that he does it. I don't know how he got in position to that. It was so weird. I was watching on YouTube, and I see Mike Tyson there. I'm like, oh, that's cool. Mike is right there, And then, I don't know, Bernard weaved his way in from the Garcia side over to closer to the Davis side. And all he did was put his hand on him, because everybody was like, "Hey guys, don't get too close.
Like
don't
right
get
on
into
the
a
small
shovel."
of his back.
Yeah,
But a sensitive area, isn't
but
it?
Gervonta reacted as though Bernard had spat on him or something.
Yeah.
Don't touch.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that means.
Yeah.
I don't know what that means yet. You never know. I try not to read too much into it. I remember, before the weigh-in for the Canelo Alvarez Gennady Golovkin rematch, Canelo uncharacteristically rushed Golovkin on stage, like he wanted to headbutt him, And that's not him. And people saying like, "Oh man, Canelo's unraveling." I had friends of mine text me like, "Canelo's getting knocked out. He's, Golovkin's in his head, or he's worried, or he's trying to intimidate Golovkin, and that ain't gonna work." And all. And I'm like, they still got to fight the fight.
Yeah, and he was coming off the Caleb Plant press conference in his last fight. Remember where Plant had kind of swung at him a little bit.
Yeah.
And Canelo kind of tried to evade it.
Yeah, did the counter shot too. Yeah.
But Doug, thank you for your time, brother. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Amilcar.
Absolutely.